First off, we have our general tab, and in general, we have our general section. So in this section, we have language. Right now, we're going to set it to English, but we also have detect from page, use WordPress settings, and a variety of other languages, as you can see here. We also have enable order notes, which will add an order notes section to the PeachPay checkout window. So we can go ahead and take a look at what that looks like. If we go ahead and enter an email, we'll use support@peachpay.app. Just some random numbers for our phone number. And then we'll go like John Smith. Go ahead and continue. We can see there's an order notes here. So order notes go here. And these order notes can get passed along to the merchant from the customer. We have remove data on uninstall, which just means if we decide to uninstall PeachPay, we can remove all the data with it. Next up, we have our support message section. So we have two types, inline and hover and tap. We're going to be taking a look at inline this time around. Support messages do support HTML tags. As you can see here, we have the H1 tag, which is going to make our support message bigger because it's a header now. If we go to our cart, or if we go to our checkout window, we can see that that support message is here and is indeed bigger. Next up, we have order summary. So under order summary, we have display product images and enable quantity changer. So if we go ahead and we find an item in our shop, let's say this black hoodie, for example, can go ahead and add it to our cart or click express checkout, and you can see that we have the product image here and we have a quantity changer. So 2, 1, there we go. We'll go ahead and remove that. Next up, we have checkout fields. So we have hide shipping and billing fields for virtual products and Google Maps address autocomplete. So let's go ahead and check out the virtual products first. So we have only a gift card right now in our cart, which is a virtual product. And as you can see, we just have email, phone number, first name, and last name. So no address fields. If we go ahead and select the black hoodie, which is a physical product, you can see now we have address fields, and we can go and type in an address and we can get a list of Google suggestions, and we can click on one of those and it will autocomplete our address. So let's move on to our next section. Next up, we have payment settings. So we have enable test mode. I'm going to go ahead and turn that off. If you enable this, you can use it to make test purchases through the PeachPay checkout window. And if you have this enabled, customers cannot see your checkout button, only those with WordPress admin access. We have automatically refund payment after changing order status to cancel, and make PeachPay the only checkout method. In order to enable that, we're going to have to disable test mode. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. So if we enable make PeachPay only checkout method, what that will do is it will hide the default WordPress cart and checkout window. So if we go ahead and go to our cart here, we can see that there's no checkout button. There's just our PeachPay button. We can go ahead and check out through PeachPay. Now, please keep in mind that if you're using additional plugins or themes or anything like that, there may be conflicts there and it might not work appropriately. Next up, we have our section for PayPal. Here you can link your PayPal account and choose a select to show PayPal in the checkout window. You can also select a default currency. We'll go ahead and just choose none because that is the simplest option. Next up, we have an area where you can link your Stripe account and select your payment options via Stripe. So you can force 3D Secure. We currently support Google Pay and Apple Pay, Affirm, Klarna, Afterpay, and ClearPay. So simply, if you want to select those, you just go ahead and check mark it. And you can then use those payment methods via Stripe. Lastly, we have purchase order, which is another payment feature we have available to our merchants. So we have it as select purchase order payment checkout window, purchase order custom name and custom description. Just go ahead and add this in just so we can see the changes. We'll go ahead and save that. Let's check out what this purchase order looks like as an option in our PeachPay checkout window. So we go ahead and go to our window. We'll enter in a phone number and an email address. We'll just go with a quick name and a quick autofilled address. We'll go with whatever shipping to our payment section. As you can see, we have a purchase order, we have a custom name, custom description, customize it to your needs. Next up, we have our button preferences. So you can make the buttons say whatever you want. There's a preview here at the bottom. So right now I have it set to say in custom text, just so it's easy to spot. You can change the color of the button. So let's say I want it to be red. You can change that. We can change the text. Let's say I want it to be black. And we can also change the icon. So let's say we don't want an icon. And we have hover effects too as well. You have an option to make the button font style match the theme. Go ahead and turn that off just so it's a little bigger. We'll also go ahead here and turn this back to white. Cool. And these payment methods below the PeachPay checkout button, you can also disable those, as you can see in the preview menu. Next, we have options of where to put the PeachPay checkout button. So right now we have enabled on product pages. So let's go ahead and take a look at what that looks like. We have options for desktop and mobile and the arrangement. Let's add it to the before the cart. And we'll go ahead. If we go to our shop really quickly, go to an item like the black hoodie, which we'll be using for most of our demos. You can see here, it's on the product page. We'll go back real quick so it's easier to see. We'll go ahead and go to payment. We'll disable the checkout method. Go back to our button preferences. If we reload the page really quickly. You can see now we should have a proceed the checkout button, which brings us to our next section. So next up we have the cart page. Let's go ahead and make it center but not full. Go ahead and save that. And if we go back to our cart page here and quickly reload, you can see that that button is now affected. So there's our PeachPay checkout window. Lastly, we have our checkout page. So we also support PeachPay on the checkout page itself. If you want to give your customer the option to check out via the default WooCommerce way or through PeachPay. So right here, I have a custom text as custom and an additional text also as custom. Go ahead and check out the checkout page. As you see, the PeachPay button appears up here with our custom header, our custom text, and our custom description. We also have a mini/sidebar cart. You can enable those as well. Although, like I said, it doesn't always work. With this theme in particular, it does. So if we go ahead and hover, maybe we have to hover from the shop. If we go ahead and hover, we can see the PeachPay button is right here in this little cart up into the corner. Lastly, we have a floating button. So we can enable this floating button. So let's go ahead and check out what that looks like. As you can see, there's this little cart button down here to the right. You can go ahead and click on that and it brings up the PeachPay checkout window. So that's all for the button preferences. Between those, you can choose left and right. This little thing is pretty handy to have just floating around your shop. Another option for your customer to use. Next up, we have a built-in field editor. This only affects the WooCommerce default checkout method and PeachPay checkout method. So if you have any other customizations there may be issues. It is built in, so it is made so that the WooCommerce will match the PeachPay checkout window just for the sake of parity and to make sure everything is working as intended. So if you go here, we have a bunch of our default fields and whatnot. We can go ahead and add a new field. We have a selection from text, select radio, phone, email, checkbox, header, etc. I'm going to go ahead and go with text. Needs a unique name, so we'll just go with demo underscore field. We can label it as write what you want. Default value we'll leave blank, and let's enable that. And we won't have it as required. So required means is like if they don't enter that information, they can't move on. So right here, if you can see, we have demo field right where you want, etc., etc. We can go ahead and edit it if we feel like it and change the type of field. So let's go ahead and see what this looks like in the PeachPay checkout window. So we'll check out our cart. And now that we've reloaded our changes, Here you can see we have the write what you want section. So your customer can input whatever information you need. Just note that this information in the fields is kind of for the merchant to collect data. It doesn't really affect anything else. So let's say you had to select a country from a dropdown, it wouldn't affect the taxes or anything like that. Next up, we have product recommendations. So we have cross-sell and upsell, and we can enable both of those. Below, we have the customizations for the cross-selling and upselling of items. We have related products here, so we can display them on the product page, display them in the PeachPay checkout window, enable an auto slider, and we can edit the heading text, the number of products to display, determine how we want to select our products. So we can do it by category, tag, or attribute, and we can exclude certain products from the related products. So let's go ahead and see what that looks like in our PeachPay checkout window. So if we go here to the shipping section, we can see the you may also like. And since we're looking at clothing, it's going to suggest more clothing. So we have dark gray jeans, some red shoes, and dark brown jeans. Next up, we have one-click upsell. So we can display those when, after payment, upon clicking PeachPay button, after information page, but before payment page, etc. So right here, we have a blue hoodie selected. We have editing of the appearance, and we have a preview down here. So you can go ahead and change the header, you can add a secondary header. You can see the preview is updating itself. So let's go ahead and see what that looks like. Go and continue. Let's quickly enter in a test card number. So if you're using Stripe, that's the test card number for that. Any expiration date that's valid, and that last part doesn't really matter. And when we click pay, we can see that we have the upsell that you may also like. We'll just click on no thanks. So that is our product recommendations. Next up, we have currency. So let's go ahead and leave. We don't save our changes. So you can enable the currency switcher. We have it built in. So if you have any other currency switchers installed, I would recommend uninstalling that because there could be conflicts, and there probably will be conflicts. Two plugins trying to do the same thing usually doesn't work out. So we have currency based on the customer geolocation or billing country. We'll just leave it at geolocation. So you can add your own custom currencies or selective currencies. So if we can select the add new currency here, just wait a second. You can see there's a new thing that popped up, and we have all these currencies you can select from. For simplicity's sake, you can also just fill the table with all currencies, which is what I am going to do. And after waiting a little bit, we have all the currencies available. So we have automatic conversion rates that are updated every 15 minutes based on the exchange rate. 15 minutes is the least one. We have every month, every 30 minutes, every hour. 15 minutes is a good amount though. We have custom intervals. So you can select custom intervals, and we have add currency conversion fees as well. So we have a little bit of notes here at the bottom. So here, if we quickly walk through it, we have the name of the currency. We have whether to auto update. We have the conversion rate. We can also add fees in. We have how many decimals, so 2. We can choose the round up, down, or to the nearest, or not round at all. And custom interval, we could set how often. So let's say we wanted this to update every 30 minutes instead of 15. We can go ahead and select that. So let's check out what this looks like in our PeachPay window. So if we go ahead and go back into our store, select black hoodie. We also have related products at the bottom, which I didn't show you from earlier, but go ahead and do that. Enter in our information. And we'll get to our payment. As you can see here, we can go ahead and select what currency we want to pay with. So we can go ahead and select euro, and everything will change to euro. Lastly, we have our advanced page. In our advanced page, you can add custom CSS and custom JavaScript to the PeachPay checkout window. So I'm going to go ahead and add some CSS, just real quickly, something simple. So I'm going to click on the button and go through everything. Should turn our background color to light blue. Let's save our changes. So we click on the button, turns everything light blue. You can trigger whatever you want, use at your own risk, but this is just a good way to show it. So let's go ahead and insert a script here. So I'm going to click on the button, should open peachpay.app. Go ahead and save. So we click on the button once we've saved everything, and you see we're brought to the PeachPay homepage because that's what we put into our JavaScript. So that's all the settings, just a quick overview.